Consumerism is such a dirty word, particularly when you get it wet, then roll it around on the ground so that it collects all manner of dust like lint, bacteria, and more dust. With such preconceived notions about consumerism well ingrained, we sent out Bec Petraitis to see if she couldn't rustle us up a tasty, that's a new way of thinking about things, pie.
Money. According to the lyrical content of popular music, you can't exchange it for love, but you can derive some humour from it whilst it exists in a gaseous state. The youth of this nation are viewed by the media as thoughtless, greedy, capitalist banner-waving plebs, consuming goods and services with the same vigour as a Galapagos slug, dousing its path in gooey excrement. The consumer culture is embodied within everything the youth enjoy, from yo-yos to Nintendos and kittens to gimp masks. Here at the Inquiry, we don't understand money or the culture that surrounds it. But that has never stopped us from explaining things in the past to you, our gentle viewer.
Socrates once said that an education obtained with money is worse than no education at all. He was later then quoted saying, "Can you nick down to the milk bar and grab me a meat pie?" These conflicting sides to the great man of thought display money's evolution in the human subconscious as it matures into a big fish among mere pond smelts. From its humble beginnings as wheels for tricycles, primarily used by large fictional toddlers, to being hunted by babies. Not one child throughout time has ever said no to a good copper, aluminium and nickel-flavoured treat.
The question, or rather questions, that we here at the Inquiry, or rather I, need to ask, are quite thought-provoking, or watermelon-scented. Where does this need for money come from? Is the thrill related to certain ages? And is spending required or optional, like a hat?
In order to answer these questions, I proposed taking the remaining inquiry budget to develop a case study in which I would analyse families based on socioeconomic background, age and current possessions and determine, through further tests, whether these factors affect a child's desire to have money. This was at first accepted, but later rejected in a program re-budget meeting.
What about the extra anchovies? Huh?
So I dipped into the Inquiry's anti-pun jar.
Anti-pun? More like anti-fun.
And prepared this scientific experiment to test this waste not what not well of what nots.
In order to keep the experiment as scientific, and therefore right, as possible, we have asked Scott to stand in as our control subject, where he will be stripped of all his belongings, driven to the peak of Mount Terrible in the quaint, yet largely unpopulated Gippsland township of Jamison, and left there for several days. Since a camera counts as a material item, we couldn't send one with him. He will be missed. From the three different groups of barely out of the uterus, annoying, and pretentious, the stranglehold of consumer culture will be tested by placing them within their natural habitats, a candy store, music store, and an alcohol-selling establishment, and giving them a $100 bill without precedent.
After discovering that the answers to my questions were I don't know, I still don't know and required, and forgetting to set some form of hypothesis, I concluded that some cultures just should not be questioned. I don't like the starter cultures found in most cheeses. But what happened to looking on the bright side of things? I mean, remember the GFC? Maybe we have the children to thank for escaping that. And let's not forget the youth market's involvement in other sectors, like the continuing existence of the bouncy ball industry, lemonade stand infrastructure, and let's not forget cheap labour. The question is, what sort of world will we live in without the youth consumer culture today?
Let's read.
Pretty shit one, probably. I'm Bec Petraitis for the Inquiry.